Hello, friends. It's Amy Calandrino coming back to you with another episode of the Performance Mindset Podcast. Today with me is Barbi Reuter, and she is past president of CRE and also has a founder of commercial real estate firm HighCore, and she'll tell you a little bit more about her, but I got to meet her first online. We've been following each other for probably a decade, and then got to meet in person at Commercial Real Estate CRE Summit in 2021, their inaugural year. And then, of course, CRE whisked her away from us. And now she has time for podcasts and fun things like this. So I'm really excited to have you.
Oh, it's so great to see you. Thank you for having me on.
Yeah. So tell me a little bit about how you got into commercial real estate. And then, of course, you've been doing this about 40 years. And how did you get into it? Tell us a little bit about your growth journey, and then we will kind of jump off of that.
Yeah. So I think I'm a little bit of a strange animal in the industry. Not strange in that I fell into it, because I think that's fairly common. You're either kind of born into it or you fall into it. Although increasingly there are programs where people study to go into it, but it wasn't the case when I was growing up. And so I grew up in a pretty non-business oriented environment. It was, teachers and a different world. So I wasn't exposed to the business world at all, but really just fell into an opportunity to type leases in like my last year of high school for a really successful broker and his assistant, who was the wife of my choir director. So it was one of those just, we need you, can you help? And it was a second part-time job that, fast forward to today, is the company that he founded 6 months later while I was in kind of starting college, and job shared an admin role with another student, and then eventually launched our property management division. We were a boutique industrial brokerage firm when we opened.
Okay.
And at the time, that company is the company I'm with and lead today. Same company, 40-year career. We're celebrating our 40th anniversary next month. And, like my grandfather's generation, strangely, I've been with one company for my whole career, but it has not been a linear ride. It has not been an expected ride. It's been a path to opportunity, community, ownership, equity, and, at this phase of my career now, paying it forward. So that's about as quickly as I can sum up 40 years.
It said on your resume that you founded the property management division of it, but you started like typing leases. I think it's so interesting that you look for a door that's open, take it, and then you never know where it's going to take you.
It's a great point. And there are people who believe in you that open those doors for you. And it's hindsight when you look back and say, this was a crossroads in my life, whether I knew it or not. And it was our founder who saw something in me, who was willing to create an admin role for the students in the beginning. And who, when I came to him and said, I need to move out of mom's house and need to work full time. And he said, I don't really have full-time work for you, but if you keep doing admin half-time, I'll pay for your real estate license and we'll see where it takes us. And interned with the brokers. He believed in me, basically. And, you're willing to create opportunities for people that you believe in. And that's, something I learned from him and I'm able to do now as well. So we had a developer client who was, we had sold them the dirt and they were developing their first industrial building in Tucson, and they needed property management boots on the ground, and were willing to kind of school me, and it was the entree to hey, I could do this, and it would be a complimentary service to the brokerage we were doing, and we could become full service, and we had a vision and built it from there. So that was really the first 20 years of my career. And then I turned that division over to one of my partners and stepped into company operations leadership, which became COO, which became president, and then part of the succession plan for our founder who stepped down in 2020.
Oh, wow. So, you know what? One thing I was thinking about too, outside of leadership and those types of things, is just you talked about like typing them. Like you would literally go to a deal and then have to like type it up versus there being these forms and these different things. It must have been so interesting, like to see the evolution of commercial rules. And you used to probably fax contracts back and forth.
Oh, this was before we had a fax machine. I mean, we still joke about the discussion around getting a fax machine and whether it was technology that was going to stay. But no, this was typing leases. We actually had really high tech equipment. It was an IBM Display Writer 3, and it was a word processor, which was kind of a precursor to a PC, a
Computer, yeah.
supercomputer, and we actually typed some leases with carbon paper. And carbon paper is a thing that you put between pieces of paper that makes the impression on the second piece, you young people. So yeah, it was a different world. And then, and the whole evolution on tools from, spreadsheet technology and analysis and the HP 12C, the financial calculator, and how that's all, it's all in here now, everything you need.
I just thought of a question is, do you think with the advent of technology and the expansion of technology that you're actually able to get more deals done, or you think there's more distractions and then it kind of is equalized?
I think that's an individual performance choice.
Ooh.
Because I think it's possible that it could be either way. And efficiency tools and technology and productivity allow us to do other things. And so it's our choice what we do at that time. For some people, having a digital assistant, a virtual assistant, a physical assistant allows them to spend more time with their family. For others, it allows them to do more deals. It makes you more productive, and I think it's a personal choice what you do with that time.
That's a very good. But you technically could do more deals, but if you decide to then use that time to then spend with family and those types of things, it's just a personal choice. It's a good point. But it's definitely more efficient.
It's definitely more efficient. I'm loving AI tools today, by the way. I really am. And you know me from our early days in the Twitterverse and being kind of earlier social media adopters, which, it's another story, but I think it's changed a lot, and I'm not as engaged as I used to be by choice. But there's, the desire to be maybe not to be curious and be an early adopter and to discover new technologies and to know that they're all inherently not good or bad, but new, and they can be used for good or evil. And so I tend to be an optimist and look for what good we can do with them.
And you don't have to share your reason for pulling back from Twitter, but I have heard from some women who shared with me privately that they're like, you're on Twitter, you're very popular on Twitter, but a lot of them feel there's so much flexing and there's so much like by the guys and other folks, like I'm doing this, look at me. And like, I'm working 1,000,000 hours and doing all these different things that it could feel kind of diminutive. Like when you've made your own personal choices for me, like this is enough. Like I'm okay with this and I'm okay with my kids. So we were speaking a little bit about you with Twitter and not being as much on that anymore. I've had women share with me that they feel like there is a little bit more of like a braggadocious persona and this kind of bigger persona kind of going on. And then it can kind of feel kind of diminutive if you're like a working mom or those types of things. And you have other priorities, whether it's volunteerism or leadership thing, but you see this work. And maybe it could be a variety of different reasons, but I've kind of felt that sometimes. But then again, I think one thing to stay true is, setting your own priorities, making your own personal choices and deciding what is enough for you. And then, listening to the other voices, but if it doesn't apply, let it slide kind of thing, and not letting it impact you and your feelings of yourself. What would you say of that?
I would say there's been a marked change in tone and tenor, and not just in Twitter, really across social media and across the way the applications have evolved as branding and marketing engines. And, as you were speaking, I think what I felt differently from maybe the flexing that you were describing is kind of a shift from we to me, in terms of how people sell themselves and or their services, or selling their services as themselves. And when the strong CRE Twitter community began, some 15 plus years ago, probably 17 years ago, it was very much community. It was very much, how can we help each other? It was, there were like Friday shout outs with hashtags where you would lift other people up, and that's just more of the way I do business. So that's part of it. And part of it's just, my role has changed, and there was a time when I was responsible for branding and marketing my company, and so that's just part of career evolution as well.
Yeah. I would say that there are definitely folks that are much more community minded, like Ken Ashley, founder of like CREI, just brought a bunch of people together to go like hang out in the woods and go quail hunting together. Yeah. Which was super cool and super fun. And we like all get to know each other on a deeper level and learn a lot more about their strengths and stuff. But then again, there are some that are more focused on the me, and, things do evolve, over time. And things change. So
they do, for sure.
When you've been involved with CRE for a long time, and so for those that don't know what CRE is, that maybe are listening and they're in another industry outside of commercial real estate, can you speak to us what that was, and then what that kind of role entailed? And
yeah. Thanks for asking. So CRE is CRE Network. It's a membership-based organization, and CRE stands for Commercial Real Estate Women. It's an organization that's made up of individual members and chapters that has become increasingly global. Most of our membership is concentrated in North America, with 80-ish chapters, as well as members from about 15 countries. And what differentiates CRE, the mission of CRE is to transform the commercial real estate industry by advancing the achievements of women. It might sound like a girls' club, but it's very inclusive and designed to create a sense of belonging and mutual success, drive business to business. Men are members. Not a high percentage of men are members, but men are members, and men are local leaders in many markets because they believe in the mission. So one of the things that differentiates CRE is that it's also multidisciplinary. Our SIORs or CCIMs tend to be brokerage focused. The AIA is architecture focused. So CRE is multidisciplinary, and within CRE, I can find everybody I need to do a transaction from end to end or a development ground up.
Yeah, I have friends that are bankers, CPAs, architects, you name it, all part of CRE. And it's amazing.
Absolutely. So there's leadership development. There is member-to-member business. There is actually scholarship and paying it forward through our foundation, which feels really terrific. Undergraduate and graduate scholarships, kind of 4 pillars of advancing the industry. We also do industry research. You might know about and want to help promote our 5-year benchmark study, which will conclude 2025 will be, I think, 25 years of data on the success and satisfaction of women in the industry and how we're doing with regard to career satisfaction, advancement, pay parity, and all of the things that are important to women in the industry from a career perspective. We do that benchmark report every 5 years. It's partially funded by the foundation, and it's out now. Would love to share a link with you. Didn't think.
Yes, share the link with me and put it in the show notes.
Yeah, absolutely. I will do that. But men and women can and should participate because it helps us understand where we are from both perspectives. And then on the 4 years in between our benchmark study, we do a significant research paper on a topical issue. Last year it was AI related.
So is there any particular stat that really stands out to you that has changed considerably over that 25-year time frame?
When we did the 2020 benchmark study, I think we were hoping and expecting to have seen more progress. So there was some belief that we have more work to do. And it will be interesting, having overcome the pandemic and the maybe disproportionate impact that the pandemic had on women's jobs, to see what the results are in 2025. And that report will come out. We're in data gathering stage now, but it'll come out in the fall and is typically launched just before the convention.
I think that women were, whether you were in commercial real estate or otherwise, I think that there was a huge impact by the pandemic, with kids out of school and women primarily handling the child rearing. I mean, it just about broke me, which was part of the precipice of this podcast to begin with. I mean, I'm grateful to have rebounded and changed, but it was very, very challenging.
Sure.
Yeah. Did you have you seen then? You said the next report does not come out until the fall, or there has been?
We're in the cycle right now to gather the data for the 5-year report. So that report is going to be published in the fall.
Do you wish that it would have been nice that you've been in this field for 40 years, that even you have 15 years up until the last 25 years that you don't really have but you could share your insights as to your market and what you've seen. So
yeah, and we all have an individual lens on what we've seen, and I get asked sometimes if I felt discriminated against early in my career or along the way, and there are incidences and people who maybe don't get it, but I've been fortunate to have grown up in an environment where I saw women achieving and didn't know it was abnormal. When our founder started the company, it was a boutique brokerage with 4 industrial brokers, and I've said this a number of times, but 2 men, 2 women, and they were the only 2 female industrial brokers in our market. And it was, you see what's possible. And again, growing up largely single parent household, a lot of girl power with my sisters and my mom after we moved to Tucson. After my parents divorced, she worked really, really hard to support our family, and it was always sort of one step forward, one step back. And one of those Saturdays when I was typing leases for our founder, he was opening his mail and holds up a check. This is in 1985 for $43,000, which was easily 2 to 3 times my mom's annual salary. Don't know exactly how much my mom made, but it was just not a lot. And he said, this is what's possible in this business. And it was sort of like, bing, I could have security. I could have stability. I could, note to self, maybe there is something different than what you've grown up and known. So part of that, seeing what's possible and doors being opened.
Well, it's interesting. You said that he was the husband of the choir director?
So actually it was his assistant. He was a commercial real estate broker. He had worked for a developer, had built a tremendous amount of business, and was ready to go out on his own. His assistant was my choir director's wife.
Okay.
This is why not going to the prom created my opportunity to enter this business, because prom night we went out to dinner with my choir director and his wife, my best friend and I, because we didn't go to the prom. The way I put it was we were over school, we were over it, which probably means no one asked us. And so we had other plans. But there we were, and she said, we're so busy. Do you have time to help us? I'm like, well, I already had this part-time job, but I could come in on Saturday mornings. So that's really how it started. And
Wow.
she became one of those two industrial brokers, female industrial brokers, that when he started his company, he promoted her to brokerage. So
That's beautiful. Bringing everybody up. But again, it's the tables that you're around and the people that you're around, and then also working to bring each other up. And then Eddie Gonzalez, you've probably seen him on Instagram. He always says, where do geese hang out? And I'm like, where? He's like, with other geese. And it's like, I always say birds of a feather flock together, but like if you're around that kind of positive environment and that's all then you're going to sense that dissonance when other people are behaving differently.
for sure. And so this company being all I've ever known from a culture standpoint, except by virtue of all the people who have joined us over the years, from all the names we know that say there's something special and different here, and how we have become kind of creators and stewards of company culture that creates an environment where brokers and property managers and staff can thrive and have either real ownership or a sense of ownership.
And do you have any offices outside of Tucson?
We do not. So we're Cushman and Wakefield Picor. We're Tucson-based, employee-owned, locally owned. The service area that we cover, our geography, is southern Arizona, and I also have a cross-border team that covers the state of Sonora, Mexico. We're a border state. And by virtue of our relationship with Cushman and Wakefield through their alliance program, we're able to connect to their resources in other markets for the benefit of our clients and our staff, and yet have the best of both worlds because we can invest our profits locally and really call our own shots in this market, which is important to us.
That's amazing to make it. I'm only 15 years in, so that's like a dream of mine. Something I've been talking to my banker and my strategic, HR team and stuff. I'm like, I'd love to kind of create that type of employee owned kind of brokerage that people feel, this sense of belonging and also shared responsibility.
Yeah, you could do it. And I'm happy to noodle with you anytime on how we do it. So
Awesome. Talk about too, circling back to crew, you were post pandemic and those, what do you feel like you've accomplished most during that year, or at least paved the way for the next year?
all that now feels so long ago and far away, doesn't it? We were able to accomplish quite a bit. We launched something called Crew Councils the year that I was president, which are kind of intimate peer groups around either role or topic. So I'm a member of the CEO Council. We have a CFO Council, and then we have kind of asset class councils and corporate and healthcare, and the people in those groups are diverse from the standpoint that they cover different aspects, touch different aspects of those businesses. And so you get this kind of peer advisory group that meets in person once a year, and then we do virtual gatherings during the year. And there's no competitive, we're careful that there aren't multiple people from markets or competitive arrangements. So they're pretty well curated groups. That was a pretty cool thing to launch. And it was piloted with 4 councils, and I think we're up to a dozen or more now as they've grown in popularity. And they're really peer-led. We have internal co-chairs and create our own agendas and content based on what we feel will drive our growth and our business. So that's one. And certainly the growth in scholarships has been important over the years. We've gone from giving 5 and then 10 and then 20 and then 30. And I think last year for the first time, we provided 40 scholarships for upperclassmen, undergrad, and grad students pursuing any of those aspects of commercial real estate. And Those scholarships include a lot, including mentorship, internship, convention attendance, and dollars. 5,000 undergrad, 10,000 grad, I think. So that's been meaningful as well.
It's not like you're just getting like 1,000. Like that's a significant scholarship. That's a big investment.
And the connections. I mean, bringing those women to a convention and shepherding them through networking and helping them meet people in their field and make those connections. We have, I can cite multiple members who have been with CRE for many years. One with JLL in Chicago, who was a scholar and joined the industry and joined CRE and became a local leader and, is paying it forward now as well.
I think that's like really the most important part, is then paying it forward as a result of the mentorship that you receive. It's interesting you brought up the council before. I was in commercial real estate, I was in legal. I was a paralegal, eventually president of the paralegals locally at the ripe old age of like 25. And then as I wanted to get into commercial real estate, I wanted to diminish my role in the law firm and kind of like exit, but so I became like a legal administrator to kind of manage everything. But then I was part of this like legal administration. We were very helpful with each other and helped create, great systems. So then I left the law firm that I started with just me, and it was my now husband, right? But left him with a great solid foundation, systems, procedures, all the things. And then I could go run, full speed into commercial real estate. But having that support and other peers that you don't know what you don't know. So
it's true. I mean, there's just a great opportunity to lift each other up. And I'm just a believer in making connections and that good things will come back.
I think I'm gonna have to join CRE. I put it off for long.
She said it here, folks. We're gonna sign her up. Yeah.
Well, it's interesting. I love SIOR. I love CCIM, but my brokerage is a little different, where I more so focus on growth-minded business owners, and so they kind of crosses asset classes, and I'm more of like a strategic, helping them with their business and their operations, but then commercial real estate plays a part of it. But it kind of varies with the client that I'm working with and in my book of business. And then, of course, like associates tend to focus on, different things. But I think it would be powerful.
Remind me what market you're in, Amy.
Orlando.
Oh, yeah, we have such a thriving chapter in Orlando. I'll connect you.
Yeah, I was going to, and then it was crazy. I was going to join, and then my son got removed from private school because he's just really exceptional, but he is very intense, and the teacher and him did not blend together. And so we were asked to leave. Didn't have anywhere for him to go. So I was going to join CRE. That was the beginning of last year, actually, 2024. But I had to bring him homeschool for 6 months last year. And I went through 8 different nannies, and I was just like, this is not a great time to like start. So like, let me withdraw my application. I will come back to you guys in good graces, but let me get through this and then figure out where are my kids going to go? What am I going to do? And, we had a beautiful ending to 2024, but 2024 started with and they totally understood. Like, as women, what's that?
It just wasn't the right time.
It was not the right time. But it was good. I mean, everything turned out beautiful, and I was glad for that opportunity to be able to do those things. What do you see, in your future? I mean, you're in your leadership, and you were talking about where you're getting to now be more in this pay it forward type of space. But what do you see?
Yeah, great question. It's interesting because we think about our company and creating something that lasts. Our founder didn't create the Hammond company intentionally. It was intended to survive him. And so succession planning is something that we talk about. And yet I don't see myself ever not working in some capacity. And we have a young lady who's about to start college next fall. So there is that. We've got one more to get through school. So it'll be a while. And I love what I do. And I really love being engaged. And FOMO was real before it was a word or an acronym. And
Yes.
Just having a seat at the table and being engaged and wanting to make a difference is kind of what makes me tick. But next, it feels like the next natural progression is corporate board service. If there's the right fit, the right organization. I kind of got contacted by an advisor who was filling a slot on a family office board that made me think maybe I am readier than I thought I was. And that one wasn't meant to be, but I think that could happen in the future, and I would welcome the opportunity to do that. But developing leaders here internally, paying it forward in my market, in my industry, and in my company is also very important to me.
Yeah, and your family, it sounds like, too.
Absolutely. Yeah. We have a blended family with 4 kids in 4 decades and 5 grandbabies from my older stepkids. And, they're kind of spread across the West from Texas to Northern California. And who knows where my daughter's going to end up. It could be East. So we'll be traveling a lot.
Well, it's good that you have the capacity now to do that and be able to spend time with them. Have any of them decided to get into commercial real estate?
They have not. My son has gotten the closest in commercial banking. He's in Houston and works on a team that underwrites pretty sophisticated corporate deals. So he's learning a lot and having a great time. He could do it someday. I think he's expressed some interest, but I think he's more interested in the debt side. So we'll see.
Well, I think sometimes having the experience from one side of it can then lend to you being a better practitioner on the other side.
Yeah, absolutely.
Well, I have had a great time chatting with you. I think I really want to talk to you about, women and bringing them up. And I think CRE is a powerful tool to do that, and the impact that you've been able to see there. And especially sharing the example of the person that's now a corporate leader with an organization that came from a scholarship. I think that's profound. Was there anything else you wanted to chat about today?
I wasn't planning to say this, but I think you just gave me an opening. And I try to remain, I'm very engaged in community efforts that are policy driven, but not politics driven. And so I just want to say that diversity is not a dirty word. That it means a lot of things, and it doesn't have to be charged. That the backlash against bringing people with different perspectives, opinions, backgrounds, gifts to the table is surprising to me, and just, I think, antithetical to moving things forward. So that's my parting shot.
I would agree that I think having that construct can sometimes force then to have a more diverse perspective and then create greater change. And then absolutely, it's like completely removing the guardrails. Perhaps there's a more central way to kind of reach the same results that everybody feels comfortable with. And
Sure.
I think that there tends to be like this versus this, and then maybe there's something here that everybody feels more comfortable. And so then we can still continue to evolve and change. And so I would agree with that.
I'm just a big believer in the way I operate is more comfortable in the gray than the black and white, and meeting people where they are and thinking in steps. And I learned a lot of that from people I respect, and it's just become important to me. So thank you for this chance to talk to you. It's been a pleasure.
And I would agree with you. I mean, my husband does a real estate. He's an attorney. He's probably one of the top half dozen business litigators in Orlando. But he can also knock out a deal. Like, he's just so good at putting together deals. But then he's a better litigator because he does the transactions. So he knows everything will go wrong, and he doesn't see things in black and white, he sees them in gray. And so I would agree with that. So I think that's a good, valid point. But how do people get a hold of you?
How do people get a hold of me? So our company website is www.picor.com, Picor. And you can find me on LinkedIn as well, Barbi Reuter, Barbi no E. And you'll probably have some contact information or notes available. But you can also reach me via email at breuter@picor.com. I'm pretty easy to find. I'm pretty Googleable.
I use that word too. We got to see each other again this year. We will make it happen. Maybe at the CRE convention.
CRE convention in Austin. Be there.
I haven't been to Austin, and I want to go to Austin. This is seeming very synchronistic. So let's just see where things flow. So, well, this has been a pleasure, and I want to thank everybody for tuning into the latest episode of the Performance Mindset Podcast. This is your host, Amy Calandrino. I'm signing off.